The plan devised by Breezy and his collaborators to ensure that the Khepri scarab could fall into Xerxes' hands had worked perfectly. Thus, hanging from the Persian king's chest, the scarab remained abreast of the ordinances and the signing of documents, as well as the Persian army's campaign lifestyle, until they reached the palace of Susa, the seat of the lavish court of the Achaemenid Empire. Very soon, thanks to the efficiency of the Khepri scarab, Breezy began receiving information about the Persian army's preparations to invade Greece. The quick meetings to obtain information took place at night, while the king slept, as he had become obsessed with his dazzling protective amulet. According to Khepri, Xerxes was unfriendly and haughty, but intelligent and capable, with a meticulous plan to carry out the invasion of Greece, and with very good advisors. So much so that, to avoid having to face the giant Athos, he had ordered his engineers to build a gigantic canal through which the fleet of several hundred triremes could pass. Among other important details, Khepri announced that work had begun on a bridge of Patinæ, so that the army, along with all its supplies, could cross the Hellespont, the strait that separates Europe from Asia. At this news, Breezy put the Athenian headquarters back on a fighting footing, training the new hoplites in the gymnasium and making the necessary equipment in the workshops to confront the invaders. It was during these preparations that young Pericles entered the school of Athens. The boy still had a very large, onion-like head, which he held proudly. At first, he had several confrontations with some jeering children, fighting his way through with his bare fists, and earning the respect of students and teachers due to his intelligence and leadership skills. When they appeared to be contemporaries in age, Breezy and Pericles became good friends, gaining Breezy's trust, and she revealed her true identity as the bearer of the magic dropper. He learned who was who, in great detail, including their phenomenal pets, and them marvelous dropperfly, Theseus the basileus. With so many revelations, he knew he was destined to make history. Along with Breezy and his distinguished group, Pericles, a teenager full of dreams, participated in training for the defense of the city, motivated by fervent patriotism for democracy. Finally, after several months of back and forth, the efficient scarab Khepri informed Breezy that the symbolic city of Sardis would be the meeting point for the Persian army and fleet, from where the military campaign to conquer Greece would begin. At this point in the impending invasion, Breezy met privately with General Themistocles, who would be chosen to keep him informed of Xerxes' movements and seek opportune moments to try to defeat him. The conversation was marked by strategic and tactical considerations, benefiting the defense. Only the cat Cyprus and Theseus the basileus witnessed the conversation. After this first meeting with Breezy, Themistocles proposed that the Greek alliance should block the advance of the Persian army at the Thermopylae pass and, simultaneously, engage the enemy fleet in the nearby Strait of Artemisium. Since the cities of Athens and Sparta dominated the defense, they agreed, as planned, that Leonidas, one of the kings of Sparta, would be in charge of protecting the Thermopylae pass, while Themistocles would command the allied fleet. In an attempt to hinder the invasion, Breezy and the Anemoi destroyed part of the barge-on-boat bridge they had built to allow the army to cross the Hellespont. Xerxes, enraged, ordered 1,000 lashes and shackles. Engineers struggled. Persians crossed Hellespont, marching to Thessaly, then Thermopylae's pass. Meanwhile, the imposing Persian fleet of some 1,200 triremes crossed the brand-new canal and then skirted the Aegean Sea, reaching the shores of Magnesia, near the Strait of Artemisium, where the allied fleet, commanded by Themistocles, was anchored. Unexpectedly, the Persian fleet was caught in a sudden gale, losing a third of its ships. Then, trying to surround the Greek ships, they lost another 200 ships, caught in another storm, which caused disastrous shipwrecks. After 3 days of fighting, Themistocles received news of the heroic defeat at Thermopylae and, in accordance with the agreement with Breezy, decided to retreat to the Strait of Salamis, helping to evacuate Athenian children, women, and the elderly to the island of Salamis. With the path clear, Xerxes conquered almost all of Greece, including devastated Athens. The city was savagely destroyed, among other things, as punishment for the defeat at Marathon. They looted, wrecked, and burned statues and buildings, including much of the School of Athens, and razed the gymnasium. Confident in his immense power, Xerxes ordered his throne to be installed on the slope of Mount Aigaleo, from where he could overlook the entire Strait of Salamis and enjoy his fleet's victory. The night before the battle, Breezy received the last details from the beetle Khepri, saying that after the sacking and destruction of Athens, Xerxes felt victorious. He wanted to return home, so he was seeking a decisive victory, willing to risk everything. They agreed that as soon as the battle began, it would be Khepri's turn to escape, psychologically leaving Xerxes unprotected and stunned. She and Cyprus would be waiting for him, receiving a loving farewell kiss. Late at night, on the desolate deck of the ship commanding the Allied fleet, Breezy had a final meeting with Themistocles, who was accompanied only by a worried Theseus the Basilian, where he gave him the final details. Before launching the attack against the invading fleet, he had to wait for the morning wind to blow. The rest is history, although, militarily, it was impossible to draw any lessons from the naval battle, especially due to the uncertainty of what really happened. As at Marathon, the Battle of Salamis became legendary due to the tragic circumstances and the complexity of the situation, which led to victory. The loss of his protective amulet during the beginning of the unforgettable naval battle had left Xerxes tormented and fearful, witnessing the destruction of his fleet. A demoralized Xerxes, now worried that he would be captured in Europe, left General Mardonius in charge of ending the conflict, who a few months later ordered his troops to raze what remained of Athens. However, to complete the aid to the fierce clash of Greek cities at the Battle of Plataea, Mardonius was incredibly hit by a stone thrown by an unknown person, which demoralized the troops and led to the Persian defeat. To top it all off, Breezy and the Anemoi would also assist in the sinking of the Persian fleet at the Battle of Mycale. With the Allies' victory, Macedonia and the Ionian cities were finally freed from Persian rule, putting an end to Xerxes' dreams of conquering the Hellenistic world. After the acclaimed victory, the Athenians began to return to the destroyed city. Breezy, with his gleaming scarab around his neck and his protective cat Cyprus, along with his entire group, including the magical horses Xanthus and Balius, strolled among the mournful crowd, encouraging the citizens, who, in need of affection, embraced one another. The arrival of the battle-hardened hoplite troops, led by Themistocles, was a cause for gathering and celebration in the agora. The marvelous dropperfly, Theseus the Basilian, proudly displaying his campaign attire, was also among the hoplites. Once again, Breezy and his group were present, taking their places at the front. Themistocles took the floor, thanking the stormy wind gods for such a victory, as well as the valor of the hoplites, including the attentive Theseus the Basilian. Themistocles and Breezy met eyes, and Breezy gave him a knowing nod. The general nodded slightly in gratitude, but above all, in respect. After the encouraging speech, everyone applauded the words of the hero of Salamis, ready to help with the reconstruction.